There are aspects of technical analysis that can indeed be confusing. For example, for me, point and figure analysis is very confusing. But it doesn't have to be. There are many very simple techniques we can employ as technicians and traders that allow us to identify high confidence trade setups. For example, today I would like to share with you two. One's referred to as a throwback, the other's referred to as a pullback, and it's just a very simple trend line trade setup. Now the diagram in front of us shows or illustrates this very simple trend line trade setup that I'm referring to. Now in an uptrending market, we refer to it as a throwback. In a downtrending market, we refer to it as a pullback. And it occurs whenever prices penetrate a trend line. For in this example, in this case, prices move above the trend line and then come back and test the opposite side of the trend line. That's the trade setup. That's referred to as a throwback. And in this instance here, it's indeed bullish. The same thing can happen in a bear market as well, but we refer to that as a pullback. It simply occurs whenever a significant trend line is penetrated, and we then test the underside of that trend line and then see prices reverse. Now, just to illustrate the efficacy of this pattern, let me show you a long-term price chart, a monthly price chart of coffee. Now, in this instance here, where we see the throwback develop, all I'm doing is connecting the high that we saw here back in 1997 with the extreme that we saw in 1999, and I'm continuing that trend line down to the right. Well, as you can see, back in 2003, we moved above that trend line, we came back down, tested the opposite side of that trend line, a throwback, and then that set the stage for literally what turned out to be a years-long advance where we saw prices, well, more than double, if not quadruple, because back in the early 2000 period, as you can see, we were trading roughly, say, 60 and change in the coffee market, and we went ultimately to a high a little bit above the 300 mark. Now, as far as the downside, again, all we're doing is we're simply drawing a trend line from the low here that occurred back in, 2001, to the intervening low that occurred back in 2008, 2009. Notice we penetrate the trend line and then come back up and test the underside of the trend line. This is referred as a pullback. And again, it marked the high of the year back in 2014 and gave way to a significant decline that actually led to prices getting cut in half. For a very simple technique, as you can clearly see, it is indeed powerful. Well, as you can see by examining the monthly price chart of coffee, this very simple trend line technique is very powerful. It identified the low back in 2003, and it also identified the top in 2014. Now, what's exciting for me as editor of Commodity Junctures moving forward, I think there are a few more examples of throwbacks and pullbacks in many of the commodity markets I'm currently following. Thank you.